Wood Soldier here, and I'm back to talk about Bad Batch Season 1, Episode 7, and my thoughts on this episode. Now, I'm going to go straight into spoilers now because of the returning character, so if you don't want to hear spoilers, leave now. Yeah, Rex is back in Star Wars. It's actually great to see him back in the show. It's actually great to see a returning character that I actually care about, not two random sisters that didn't really do much in the show anyway. But yeah, it was great to see him back in the show. Um, I actually had fun with this episode. It didn't feel like a filler. I mean, it did kind of feel like a filler episode, but I enjoyed it because we finally had a payoff to the continuous story of the inhibitor chips, and Wrecker finally succumbing to the inhibitor chips, which I think was fun. My biggest problem with this episode is I would have rather Wrecker had continued being under its influence, because I think that would have been more of a compelling story if Wrecker had also ended up joining Crosshair. That would have been fun to see, Crosshair and Wrecker teaming up, and maybe the show go down this dark path where Hunter is seeing his squad just continuously turning on him. Tech goes next, then Echo. That would have been a fun series to see. Hunter's the only one that can, stop the inhibitor chip, where the rest of his squad is hunting him down. I wish we would have got that. A bit of darkness would actually be fun in Star Wars right now, because we're just getting crap from everywhere else. But it's still a good episode. I'm still glad that he succumbed to the chip. And I'm happy that they managed to get him, off the inhibitor chip, which was fun. So let's go into like a deep dive now into the episode. The episode starts off with the Bad Batch being attacked by these pirates because they've stolen a creature from them. They get to the hyperdrive working, and then they get back to Sid. Sid then explains to them that they need to cut in more money because they're costing her a lot of credits, and they need to sort that out because she's not running her charity. At this same time, Wrecker and Omega are going out to eat some candy or something, and and they're getting really close. So she's pretty much getting close to all of the Bad Batch. I'm not seeing her get close to Echo or Tech, but she is getting close to Wrecker and Hunter, which is it's actually nice to see this relationship growing. As I said, don't hate Omega. As long as you don't make her marry Sue, I'm fine with her. That's all I've asked. That's all I'm asking. But at the same time, there's a mysterious person in the bar who's on his own. Turns out it's Rex. And when these two guys try to muscle him or intimidate him, he just pulls his blaster out and shoots in the air, and they run off crying. When he does that, he alerts the Bad Batch that he's there. They're glad to see him. He explains to the Bad Batch what happened to him, what happened on the Star Destroyer he was on, and yeah. At this time, Wrecker comes back, gives Rex a hug, but at this time he starts having his headaches again, and Rex sees they still have their inhibitor chips in, and this pretty much terrifies Rex because he knows what those chips do. At this same point, Omega tells Rex that the inhibitor chips there could be problems taking the chips out of them. It could be different for the Bad Batch and other clones. But Rex has to inform them that, listen, it's worse to keep them in because they will take over eventually, and you can't control them. And they will kill you, or you will kill your brothers if you don't get those chips out. So Rex tells them to meet him on a planet. Turns out it's Brecker. If you don't recognise Brecker, it's from the Fallen Order game, which is actually a good Easter egg to see, and I found it interesting. Yeah, so the Bad Batch head to Brecker with Omega. Mega's still worried about Rekka because, she likes him, and it's kind of like brother and sister relationship, and so, she doesn't want him to do anything too dangerous. When they get to Brekka, Rex is there with his bomber from, season 7. But one thing I was kind of wondering about through this episode is, where's Ahsoka? Like, she's just disappeared. I can't believe that Rex and Ahsoka would just leave each other at this point. But I don't know. I was hoping they would explain more about that, or Rex would explain more about Ahsoka, but we didn't really get that information, which was sad. But fair enough. Rex tells them that they need to get to one of the Venator Star Destroyers because it has a medical bay they can use to get rid of the inhibitor chips. When they're moving through the junkyard, they see the Scrapper Guild, which is the same Scrapper Guild that were in the Fallen Order. And they need to keep away from them because they work for the Empire. And if they find out they're there, they'll ring up the Empire and then they'll send us task force to deal with the Bad Batch. So they get into one of the Venators. It's pretty banged up because it is an abandoned ship. It turns out these are one of the first Venators to come off the assembly line, Rex says. So that was interesting to find out. Once they're in the Venator, they have to come across this gap that Rex has to get them across. They use a cable line to get over, and as we all know, Wrecker is scared of heights. When he tries to cross, the cable snaps, he falls down near the water. It turns out there's this octopus creature that tries to grab him, but he manages to fight him off, and the Bad Batch shoot a couple of shots into it to scare it away. When they get to the medical bay, Rex explains to them that this may take a while because he hasn't been on this side of the operation before. And then you start seeing Wrecker get more and more headaches because the chip seems to be taking more of control of him. Tech does an examination of him, and at this time the chip completely takes over Wrecker, and Wrecker grabs Tech and throws him against the wall, and then you hear the good old words, good soldiers follow orders, and he pretty much accuses them of treason against the Empire, which was actually a great scene of him, fighting his brothers. We get this massive fight scene. He throws Rex out of a room, fires his rifle at them all. There's a scene where he then gets the rifle knocked out of his hand by Hunter. Omega picks up the blaster, doesn't fire a shot, tries to, get Wrecker to take back control of himself, but he can't do that because the chip is pretty much taken over. She runs away, Wrecker chases her, she hides in a room, but Wrecker manages to find her, and Rex stuns him, puts him back on the bed, and then they manage to have the operation to take the chip out of him. And he does feel guilty about nearly killing Omega, but Omega is a very caring person and she forgives him anyway. So, and I think that's right to do because it's not his fault, or it's not his fault. He was controlled by the chip. The rest of the Bad Batch have their chips taken out, and Rex then informs them that he has to go somewhere else, and Hunter doesn't want to go with him because he needs to find out. He wants to find somewhere for the Bad Batch to go, and he needs to do what's best for his squad, which I think's pretty good. I didn't like the fact that Rex just came in one episode and then leaves. I think he's coming back for another episode where he's going to call for them to help him. But again, this whole episode he went out to find the Bad Batch, and he didn't do anything with them except to get their chips removed, which doesn't seem like a good story to me. But again, other than that, it was a great episode. It did end on a cliffhanger with the Scrapper Guild seeing the Bad Batch and then informing the Empire. So hopefully we're going to get Crosshair in the next episode, and that should be interesting. But yeah, that's the end of my review. Good episode. I hope we see more of Rex, but again, I'd watch this episode if I were you. Because it looks like it's going to get interesting to see more of the Empire, and it looks like without the inhibitor chips, maybe we'll see what happens to the Bad Batch then. Like, will they lose like some stuff, or will they get stronger in other areas? I don't know. I hope we find out. But yeah, that's the end of my review. If you like this review, give it a like. If you don't like this review, give it a dislike, and do pink button subscribing if you like my content. Hail the Founder Menace, long live CG, and fuck SJWs. Bye.